from the Santa Clara Convention Center at Cloud Expo, and I'm here with Jim Battenberg, and he is an evangelist, a cloud evangelist at Rackspace Hosting. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, Erin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
Thanks for joining me. So talk a little bit about the trend of off-premise hosting. We were talking about that a little bit earlier.
I think we're seeing a lot of that today. You know, back in the 90s, there was an initial push to host off-premise, and a bunch of big hosting companies came out of the woodwork and went public, and then you saw a lot of those kind of weed themselves out over the years. And today, in the cloud era, we've really moved from the client-server and initial hosting era to the cloud era, where you have kind of a combination of virtualization, ubiquitous high-speed bandwidth, and then Moore's Law, bringing computing prices down. And so companies are looking to move off-premise, and a lot of companies define that as the cloud. And we're seeing that the economics are there to start looking at not doing things yourself in-house and looking for hosting and cloud companies to host things for you.
Okay, great. Cloud computing has sort of been a buzz term in the industry for the last couple of years, but actually there's originations back in the 90s, so tell us about that.
And I remember that. I was part of hosting companies back then in the 90s. I think that when you add virtualization to the mix, which is kind of the new technology in the last 8-10 years or so, you're starting to see true cloud computing where you can get infrastructure as a service. You can get compute on demand. Within a matter of minutes, you can have a server up and running, which would take 5 to 10 business days back in the 90s. You have platform as a service where developers can go out and develop applications on top of middleware and infrastructure that's already deployed for them in the cloud. Then you have software as a service, which is the most common today cloud offering. You've got hosted email from all sorts of companies and SharePoint and CRM systems and things like that. So we are seeing a lot of customers, and I think this show here at Cloud Computing Expo is evidence of how many companies are looking at cloud computing as an alternative way to do business and as a much more economical way to host mission-critical applications in the cloud.
Okay. And I would say Rackspace is pretty much on the cutting edge in terms of your hybrid solution offering. So how do you differentiate yourselves in what's becoming a more dense marketplace?
So let me give you a two-part answer to that. The first is we've differentiated ourselves over time with fanatical support. We are intending to build one of the world's greatest service companies, and we happen to host on the backside of that. So we have built our reputation in taking care of customers, going above and beyond. Fanatical support is a core value for everybody in the company, and customers really appreciate the extra effort that we put forth in taking care of them. And we actually were leading edge, if you will, back in the 90s when we started managed hosting. So today we've been able to take our managed hosting offerings, our focus on customer support, now add cloud-based offerings to that, and with that you have hybrid computing, where we have offerings that connect traditional managed hosting, which is better for certain applications, with cloud hosting, better for other use cases. And when you can combine the two, and I'll give you a quick example, say you have PCI compliant data, you want to keep that on the managed hosting on dedicated servers, because today the credit card industry will fine you, they'll charge you if you keep that credit card information in a multi-tenant environment. So keep your information here on managed hosting, burst out to the cloud when you have seasonal or bursty traffic, and then together you have a perfect solution that's a hybrid solution, and we think Rackspace is well poised to deliver that. We're doing that for customers today, and look forward to doing that for more customers tomorrow.
Okay, great. And before we wrap up, talk to us a little bit about your open source initiatives.
So yes, we are co-sponsoring an initiative called OpenStack. And OpenStack, in a nutshell, is the open source community coming together to create a secure, standards-based cloud. And we have really kind of opened up our cloud to the world in a typical open source philosophy method. We did this, we've been in open source a long time. We started hosting Linux servers, then we added Windows. We started offering cloud servers on the cloud, and then on Linux, and then we added Windows. And we really want the community as a whole to build on the open source cloud so that there's not vendor lock-in in the future. And we have a standards-based cloud that anyone can deploy on-premise or off-premise, and we're seeing a lot of traction with that. And in fact, we're talking about it later on in the show today.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jim, for joining me today.
Thanks, Erin. It was a pleasure.
I've been speaking with Jim Battenberg, Cloud Evangelist for Rackspace. I'm Erin Harrison, coming to you from the Santa Clara Convention Center at Cloud Expo.